Hello and welcome to a new episode on Sadhana World Foundation. As you know, we care about crafting young lives. We present them stories which are anchored on moral values. We think that these stories contain tremendous amount of teachings which our young children and adults can inculcate in their own lives and become stronger and better human beings. I came across an inspirational story. I thought I must present that to you, and there are enough teachings embedded in that story. This story was published by a British newspaper called The Guardian in 2019. This is about the life story of a young lady called Grace. And this event particularly refers to something which happened in October 2018. She was a young student of medicine. She was on her fourth year, very passionate about serving humankind, and hence she was studying medicine. She had just completed 8 weeks of training in a hospital and had returned back to London to resume her classes. She came with a friend, and the friend left her in a shopping mall, and she was in that shopping mall. Suddenly, a catastrophe happened. Something fell on her and she was on the floor. She was looking at the ceiling, but tremendous amount of pain was there with her, and she was not able to feel her legs. She was crying in pain and anxiety and shock. Of course, a lot of people gathered. The emergency services came to help. She was taken to the hospital, and it was figured out that she had a spinal injury. A whole saga happened through the process of treatment. She had to drop out of her college for about a year because it was a big injury. The problem was very intense because there was a point in time where she was not sure if she would be able to move. A part of her body was, of course, paralyzed, and doctors advised her that she can at best try a lot of physiotherapy and hope for the best. She has to stay in a positive frame of mind and just do physiotherapy. She was a very passionate rock climber. She used to teach young kids who are passionate about climbing the techniques of climbing. Someone who is so passionate about serving humankind and someone who is passionate about rock climbing, you can imagine that how energetic, how dynamic the person would be. However, the person was in the hospital bed for months together, unable to move, looking at the ceiling and being under the care of various kind of medical professionals, and go through a number of tests and number of advices and all of that. So many doctors advised her that she would at best be able to stand up after long sessions of physiotherapy. She was advised a lot of positive thinking, staying optimistic about the future. Imagine what happens to a person at that young age, and every day, naturally, every moment, you would be thinking that why this happened to me. Someone who was trying to commit suicide jumped from a floor above, and while landing on the floor where she was, accidentally she came on the way and the man fell on her. The man was also rescued. The man had just a fracture, but Grace had a broken neck and spinal cord injury. Someone who was trying to commit suicide had just a fractured leg, while Grace, who had no connection with this stranger, accidentally was there at that moment in that place, had to suffer so much what kind of consolation you can give, what kind of rationale you can give for yourself to accept this ordeal. Most of us will be almost broken down, will be devastated. However, look at this girl who was so determined to get up again. Of course, she did a lot of physiotherapy and followed the doctor's advice, but the determination in her mind was so intense that she said to herself that she would again somehow find new ways of climbing the hills and inspire kids for rock climbing. Apparently today she does all of that. She has been able to learn a new technique by which she is able to push herself using her hands, a new technique of rock climbing, that she is able to lift her body, she is able to move. She has started her college again and she is back on her feet. Somebody who is a normal person. When I read this story, this is actually somebody's life. This was so inspirational. We can do anything that we want if we are determined, if we are continuously staying at it. She stayed with that physiotherapy, she stayed with the positive frame of mind. That's how she has been able to make so much of progress in her life. If we look at our mythological stories, think of the Ramayana. Lord Ram, the prince who was supposed to take charge of the kingdom, was declared as the king. The coronation event was to happen, and at that juncture, disaster strikes. Not only one by one, multiple disasters strike his life. He goes to the jungle, move much away from the luxuries that he was used to in his life. Then going through all the pain, all the challenges, all the troubles of various evil forces that were testing him. And he accepts all of them. He accepts all of them. This could be mythology, and the story of grace that I came across is not mythology, it's fact, it has happened. And grace is possibly one among hundreds of other such people in this universe that we do not know about. Grace is just an example. Through this story, Lord Ram's life as described in Ramayana tells us, teaches us the same thing about staying steadfast, staying calm, staying focused on the task at hand and doing it consistently over a period of time. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, Lord Sri Krishna gives the message to all of us that there are 26 qualities, noble qualities that we all must follow. The first one is fearlessness or abhay. The second one is purity of mind, which is sattva sansuddhi. And the third one is this one, steadfastness, staying steadfast on the path of knowledge, which is jnana yoga vyavasthiti, which means the path of knowledge, the path of rationale. We accept what we cannot control, what we cannot change. That's what Lord Ram did in the Ramayana. He had no control over the evil forces which were attacking him in the forest. He had no control over the decision of his aunt or the decision of his father. So he accepted it. and he followed that path. He tried to do his best. Grace similarly accepted the accident as a reality in her life and moved forward. She did whatever she could do the best. And she not only did that once, she did it every day, every moment of her life. She did not let the negative forces, the negative thoughts grip her mind. So, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti means that staying on the path of knowledge on a consistent basis. That's the teaching. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear young children, it's very intense. It takes tremendous amount of practice to perfect this quality of steadfastness. I look forward to our future conversations. Thank you very much.